Hello everyone, my name's Chris and today we're looking at the edge of field correction on a full frame sensor for the new Sky-Watcher Esprit 70EDX. I'll also be showing you an image from the ZWO ASI 533 Pro that I've got attached at the moment as well. Now, I did do a video a few weeks ago covering the specs and everything to do with that side of things, which I'll pop in the as a pinned comment if you want to check that, all the specs out and everything. But this video's all about just pointing out a couple of niggles that I found when using the telescope and to show the edge of field correction with a full frame sensor. Now, spoiler alert, Sky-Watcher have done a really good job with the edge of field correction on a full frame sensor, but there are a couple of niggles. You might notice there's an elastic band near the dew shield, and that's because I think we've still got dew shield problems with these Esprits where they just don't hold their own weight when you're pointing the telescope up at the sky. So I've added an elastic band to solve that problem. But yeah, Esprits are known, the old Esprits, the EDs, not these new EDXs, are known to have quite floppy dew shields. I was hopeful this one was a bit better, but it is a bit slidey, but the elastic band did do the trick. Now, the other niggle I just want to point out before we get onto the good stuff, because it's not all negative, is the focuser. Now, I found that the rotator is actually pretty good. I like that, but I do want to raise this. I don't know if it's just with this particular example or whether it's across all the EDX 70s, but there's the Esprits have this locking Tommy bar underneath to lock the focuser, and I wasn't sure whether it was a lock or a friction clutch, because when I undid it fully I noticed that if I get the camera in the right place, if I undo it, I notice the focuser slips. With that Tommy bar completely undone, the focuser doesn't hold position very well. It kind of like slips before it settles when you let go of the focuser knob. It doesn't do it in every position, like it's okay there, but it just happens to do it where my cameras reach focus. So there you go, I'm holding the focuser knob and now I'm letting go and it moves. Again, holding the focuser knob and then letting go, and it slips a few millimeters. Now, it's okay. It just means that to get focus, you need to lock the focuser and then find focus whilst it's locked, which I'm not sure is good for the focuser to do that. I think it really needs an EAF really to tackle that, because if you've got a ZWO EAF, for example, on there, it will just hold the focuser steady and lock it in position anyway, and I think that would solve it. So really, this telescope, to be a fantastic telescope, this telescope needs an elastic band for the dew shield and an EAF, and then it's kind of sorted. There's probably a more elegant solution than the elastic band that I'm using there, admittedly. Anyway, I don't want it to all be negatives. Let's get onto the computer and have a look at this edge of field correction with my Sony full frame camera and the ASI 533 Pro. Okay, what we've got here is a single 30-second RAW file exposure using the Sony A7R on the Esprit 70EDX. If I zoom into 100% to have a look at the middle, you can see the stars are nice and round. There's nothing in the way of chromatic aberration. There's some hot pixels, those little red dots and the odd blue dot there, because this is just a unadulterated raw file with all corrections turned off. If we go into the corners, top right to begin with, you can see that the star shapes are very well maintained and there's very little in the way of vignetting, but I'll take a closer look at vignetting in a moment. Top left is looking pretty similar, still very good. Bottom left, again very good, a touch of vignetting there that I can see, but the stars are very nicely corrected. Finally, oh, the star cluster there. Finally, bottom right. See a bit of vignetting there in the extremes, and the stars aren't quite as good. Just in that one corner. So 3 good corners out the 4, so there is a tiny bit of tilt somewhere. But generally a very good result with such a demanding high megapixel full frame camera placed on the back of this telescope with a reducer flattener in place as well. So let's have a close look at that vignetting. If I go to that corner again and pump up the brightness, it is very slight, isn't it? It's not a big deal, I'd say. It's in the extremes. Let's have a look at the whole frame. This is stretched in terms of brightness now. To have a look at the very small amount of vignetting there. So I think we've got pretty good coverage there, really. So a very good result for this telescope after the initial little worries with the dew shield and the focuser sag. Optically at least, it's looking superb. So let's go out of there for a sec. I just want to show you another picture that was taken on a subsequent night. Okay, so the last image was obviously just a single raw frame, so I just wanted to show you what I'd managed in terms of imaging, or should I say live stacking. I got an hour's gap in the sky to capture an hour's worth of data basically on the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula. I had the L-enhance filter in place, so we probably can't really judge the halos on Owl Attack because filters can do that kind of thing. But yeah, this is a smaller sensor camera that I used here. It's a ZWO ASI 533 Pro. So we've already looked at the edge of field correction on a full frame sensor, so that's not what this is about. This is just to show you an image from the telescope. Not an amazing image, but it is an image. 2 minutes, sub exposures over about an hour, handful of dark frames. We were near the full moon, so or a very bright high up moon at least. So I did pop this through Grexpert to get rid of the gradient. And then I did some quite heavy noise reduction because it was only an hour's worth of data. And as soon as you stretch a small amount of data, it gets quite noisy. So there is a bit of softness to the image, but I will zoom in just to show you. Bearing in mind there is processing artifacts here with the heavy noise reduction. But that's what that looks like. Ooh, if I can grab the corners. Yeah, probably not so pretty when we zoom that far in, but if you look at it far enough away, like there maybe, then it's not too bad. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get another clear night to test this telescope further. I basically waited another week since taking these images and I've had no luck. I went out the other night, got set up, took some darks for 3 minutes exposures to stretch its legs a little bit, and then the clouds rolled in and the forecast just isn't looking good. So I'm probably going to leave it here, to be honest, and send it back to First Light Optics and take a look at something different now. But yeah, I hope that was interesting. Anyway, I don't think many people have really done much with this telescope as far as I can see online. So that's the whole point of borrowing this, is just to have a look at it. There's a few niggles still to iron out, unless it's with this specific example I've got, but the dew shield and the focuser are slightly floppy. I don't know a better word to describe it. They're just not holding as well as I'd like. So you definitely need an EF and an elastic band to sort that out. But optically, I've been really very impressed with it for the short amount of clear skies I've managed to get with this telescope. So Sky-Watcher are doing really good with their optics, I think, but there's just a few other little bits to iron out, really. But there we have it. I hope that was useful to someone at least. Thank you as always to my channel members and Patreons, and maybe I'll see you on the next video.